I'm here now.
And about time! Dexter!
Yes, Father.
How long does it take you to shave?
I wasn't shaving.
And how about what's different about performing now for you than say 20 years ago? How is it different for you?
It isn't.
Jerry, picture this. Two best friends who made millions of people laugh together, who seemed like they could never be separated, suddenly stopped talking to each other for 20 long years. What could possibly tear apart such a perfect partnership? Well, after decades of silence, Jerry Lewis finally opened up about what really happened between him and Dean Martin. And the truth might surprise you. Today, we're diving deep into one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking stories. We're going to discover why these two comedy legends went from being inseparable to complete strangers, and what Jerry Lewis revealed about their friendship that shocked everyone. So grab some popcorn, settle in, and let me tell you a story that will make you laugh, cry, and maybe even change how you think about friendship and fame. Jerry Lewis was just a regular kid from Newark, New Jersey, born on a chilly March day in 1926. His parents were both in show business, which might explain where he got his love for making people laugh. His dad worked as a master of ceremonies, kind of like a party host, and his mom played piano on the radio. Even as a little boy, Jerry was already different from other kids. He was the class clown who couldn't sit still and always wanted to be the center of attention. School was tough for Jerry. He wasn't the best student, and he loved pulling pranks more than doing homework. He would sneak into school kitchens to steal fried chicken and pies, which got him in trouble all the time. Eventually, he got kicked out of not one, but two different high schools. His teachers probably thought he would never amount to anything, but little did they know they were looking at a future superstar. When Jerry was just 15 years old, he created his very first comedy act. He would perform mime, which means acting without talking, while music played in the background. It was pretty creative for a teenager. His first real show was at something called a burlesque house, but it didn't go well at all. The audience didn't laugh, and Jerry felt embarrassed and confused. Finding more work was really hard, and he started to wonder if he was meant to be a comedian at all. To pay his bills, Jerry had to take all kinds of jobs. He worked as a soda jerk, which means he made milkshakes and served drinks at a soda fountain. He also worked as an usher at a fancy theater in New York City, showing people to their seats. These weren't glamorous jobs, but they helped him survive while he chased his dream of making people laugh. The thing about dreams is that sometimes they take a long time to come true, and sometimes they need a little help. Jerry got that help from a veteran comedian named Max Coleman, who saw something special in the young man and encouraged him to keep trying. Then, a comedian named Irving Kay spotted Jerry's act and decided to become his manager. This was the big break Jerry had been waiting for. It led to gigs at summer resorts where city people went to relax and have fun. Life has a funny way of working out sometimes. Jerry was supposed to join the military, but when doctors examined him, they found he had a heart murmur, which is when your heart doesn't beat quite right. This meant he couldn't serve in the army, but it also meant he could focus completely on comedy. What seemed like bad news at first turned out to be exactly what he needed. In 1945, when Jerry was just 19 years old, something magical happened. He met a 27-year-old singer named Dean Martin at a place called the Glass Hat Club in New York City. Dean was smooth, handsome, and had a voice like velvet. Jerry was wild, funny, and full of energy. They were complete opposites, but you know what they say about opposites attracting. When they decided to work together, it was like lightning in a bottle. Dean would play the calm, cool guy while Jerry went completely crazy with his physical comedy. They would improvise, which means they made things up on the spot, and audiences couldn't get enough of them. Their chemistry was so natural that it seemed like they had been friends their whole lives. Their big break came in 1948 when they appeared on a TV show called Toast of the Town. This was huge because television was still pretty new, and not everyone had one in their home yet. But the people who did see them absolutely loved them. By 1950, they were hosting their own show called the Colgate Comedy Hour on NBC, one of the biggest TV networks in America. Jerry wasn't just a performer. He was also a writer who created their comedy routines. He brought in other talented writers like Norman Lear, who would later become famous for creating shows like All in the Family. Jerry had a vision for their act, and he worked hard to make sure every joke was perfect and every bit was hilarious. But their success wasn't limited to television. They also made movies together, starring in films like My Friend Irma, At War with the Army, and Hollywood or Bust. Each movie seemed to make them even more popular, and soon they were among the most famous entertainers in America. They were making tons of money, living like kings, and had millions of fans who adored them. However, as time went on, something started to change. The laughter that came so easily on stage began to feel forced behind the scenes. Success as a way of creating pressure, and that pressure started to crack their friendship like a rock hitting glass. The end came during their last live performance together at the Copacabana in July 1956. Both men knew this was goodbye, even though they didn't say it out loud. The audience had no idea they were watching the end of an era. After that night, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis went their separate ways, and they wouldn't speak to each other for 20 long years. After the split, Jerry felt lost and confused. He and his wife Patty went to Las Vegas, hoping to find some peace and figure out what to do next. Jerry later described feeling like he couldn't put one foot in front of the other with any confidence. Imagine losing your best friend and your job all at the same time. That's what Jerry was going through. Then, in the middle of all this chaos, something unexpected happened. Judy Garland, one of the most famous singers in the world, was supposed to perform in Las Vegas but got sick. Her husband called Jerry and begged him to fill in for her. Jerry was terrified because he hadn't sung solo on stage in 25 years, but he agreed to do it. Walking onto that stage alone must have been one of the scariest moments of Jerry's life. He started with jokes to calm his nerves, and then he sang "Rock-a-bye Your Baby" with a Dixie melody and "Come Rain or Come Shine." The audience went wild, clapping and cheering like they could feel how hard this was for him. At that moment, Jerry realized something important. He could make it on his own. Feeling brave and hopeful, Jerry decided to bet on himself. He used his own money to record those songs, and a record company called Decca Records liked what they heard. His single "Rock-a-bye Your Baby" hit number 10 on the charts, and his album Jerry Lewis Just Sings made it to number 3. These weren't just numbers. They were proof that Jerry Lewis could be successful without Dean Martin. By 1958, Jerry's musical success opened new doors for him. The Sands Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas offered him a 5-year contract that paid him the same amount of money they had paid the Martin and Lewis duo. Jerry was thrilled. For the first time since the breakup, he felt truly happy and confident about his future. Jerry's solo career took off like a rocket. He appeared on popular TV shows like What's My Line and The Ed Sullivan Show, proving he could entertain audiences all by himself. He even hosted the Academy Awards 3 times, and when the show ran out of time, he would improvise and keep the audience laughing. His quick wit and ability to think on his feet made him a natural host. But Jerry wasn't content to just perform. He wanted to create. In 1957, he directed his first movie, The Delicate Delinquent. It was a rough start because directing is much harder than just acting, but the challenges made Jerry more determined to succeed. He followed this with The Bellboy, a movie where he barely spoke at all, relying on physical comedy to tell the story. It was a risky move that showed his creativity and willingness to try new things. Some critics called Jerry a genius, while others just didn't understand what he was trying to do. But Jerry kept making movies that showed his unique sense of humor. Films like The Ladies' Man and The Errand Boy pushed boundaries and displayed his unique vision. Each movie was like a piece of Jerry's soul that he shared with the world. Television networks also wanted to work with Jerry, but they struggled to find the right format for him. He made guest appearances on various shows, charming audiences, but still feeling like something was missing. The loneliness of success was something Jerry was learning to live with. Then Jerry created what many people think is his masterpiece, The Nutty Professor. In this movie, he played a socially awkward professor who transforms into a handsome but annoying alter ego. The movie was both funny and touching, showing that Jerry could make people laugh and feel emotions at the same time. It proved that he was more than just a silly comedian. He was a real artist. Jerry continued making movies throughout the 1960s, starring in films like The Patsy and Disorderly Orderly. But the entertainment industry was changing, and Jerry's style of comedy was starting to feel old-fashioned to some people. In 1966, after almost 20 years, he split from Paramount Pictures. His box office numbers were falling, and it felt like a door was closing on an important chapter of his life. Determined to reinvent himself, Jerry signed with Columbia Pictures and tried to take on more serious roles. He appeared in movies like Three on a Couch and Way, Way Out, hoping to reach a new audience. But it wasn't easy. The audience, who loved his silly comedy, wasn't sure what to make of this more serious Jerry Lewis. Television kept calling Jerry's name, and he appeared on shows like The Merv Griffin Show and The Sammy Davis Jr. Show. He even jumped into comedic chaos of the Batman TV series and Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Jerry was working constantly, but there was a sense of desperation underneath all the laughter, like he was trying to hold on to fame that was slipping away. Jerry starred in a second version of The Jerry Lewis Show that aired from 1967 to 1969, but the excitement was bittersweet. Even though he was busy, the laughs were getting rarer, and behind the scenes, Jerry was struggling with the reality that his career wasn't what it used to be. After leaving Columbia Pictures, Jerry dove into independent filmmaking with Which Way to the Front, a World War II comedy where he played a wealthy playboy eager to fight. Jerry's willpower and determination were admirable, but the movie bombed at the box office, getting little love from critics or audiences. It must have been heartbreaking for Jerry to put so much effort into something that failed so completely. Perhaps the most challenging and mysterious part of Jerry's career was a movie called The Day the Clown Cried from 1972. This film was meant to be a serious look at a tragic time in history, but it was never released. Jerry kept it buried, calling it a painful nightmare of dreams that never came true. To this day, most people have never seen this movie, and Jerry took its secrets to his grave. During the quiet years when Jerry stepped away from movies, he kept connected with the public through appearances on shows like Good Morning America and The Dick Cavett Show. He also continued his yearly telethons, raising money for charity and bringing joy to millions of viewers. Then, in 1976, something magical happened that shocked the entire entertainment world. During Jerry's annual telethon, Frank Sinatra surprised him by bringing out Dean Martin. The crowd went absolutely wild, and Jerry, clearly taken by surprise, hugged Martin like no time had passed at all. They joked around as if they were still the best of friends, saying things like, "We haven't seen each other for 20 years, and you know there were all those rumors about our breakup, and when I started the show and you weren't here, I believed it." This moment was bittersweet for fans who had been hoping for a reunion for 20 years. It showed that despite everything that happened, there was still love and respect between these two men. But it was just a brief moment, and afterward, they went back to their separate lives. Jerry kept trying to make his mark in show business through the late 1970s and beyond. He appeared in Circus of the Stars and made his movie comeback with Hardly Working in 1981, after an 11-year break from films. In his later years, Jerry kept engaging with the public through interviews and specials, but the burden of his past success always fell heavy. Through all the ups and downs, Jerry never lost his unique place in comedy history. He had created a style that mixed chaos with real emotional struggle, touching people's hearts while making them laugh. One critic said Jerry single-handedly created a style of humor that was half anarchy, half emotional pain. His impact can still be felt today in the work of many comedians who came after him. Even comedians who never took a pratfall themselves owe something to the self-deprecating style Jerry brought to the scene. His comedy was full of explosive physical movements and emotional layers that made some people love him and others misunderstand him. He stood out with his quirky voice, funny faces, and daring stunts that paved the way for future stars like Steve Martin, Richard Pryor, and Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey once said, "I learned from Jerry. I am because he was." This shows how much Jerry influenced the next generation of comedians. Even though Jerry played this goofy everyman character, his humor was actually very intentional and skillful. His physical comedy was packed with sight gags and wordplay that showed a level of talent many people didn't fully appreciate. Jerry's performances might have seemed chaotic to someone just watching casually, but there was actually a smooth rhythm to everything he did. Every little move was thought out. leading the audience to a big finish that often ended in controlled chaos, but always with laughter. Years after their famous split, Jerry Lewis finally opened up about what really happened between him and Dean Martin. In a heartfelt interview, Jerry admitted that he always knew their partnership would end eventually. "I knew I had to be the one to end it," he confessed, the weight of those words filling the room. He took responsibility for his part in the breakup, knowing it was time for them to go their separate ways. Looking back on their partnership, Jerry wondered how things might have been different. "If I was Dean Martin and Dean was Jerry, we might have called it quits years ago," he said, a hint of sadness in his voice. This showed that Jerry understood Dean's side of the story and respected him for putting up with the situation for as long as he did. Jerry explained that Dean had always been patient and understanding, even when Jerry got most of the attention and praise. Dean would read reviews that praised Jerry Lewis while barely mentioning him, and he put up with that treatment for a decade. "That kind of treatment ain't easy," Jerry said quietly, remembering those difficult times. Jerry admitted he was the one who loved being in the spotlight, always wanting to be front and center, while Dean was often overlooked despite being incredibly talented. This created tension that eventually became too much to ignore. Jerry was like a businessman who loved the limelight, but Dean was there too, a real artist who deserved more recognition than he got. The truth that Jerry revealed was both sad and hopeful. While he felt bad about leaving Dean, he also saw it as a new beginning for both of them. "It's not the end, but just a new start," he said, holding on to fond memories while being ready to face whatever came next. Jerry's honesty about the breakup showed his growth as a person. He could have blamed Dean or made excuses, but instead, he took responsibility for his actions and acknowledged Dean's patience and talent. This kind of maturity doesn't come easily, especially when talking about something that caused so much pain. The story of Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin teaches us important lessons about friendship, fame, and the price of success. Sometimes the people we love most are also the ones we hurt the most, not because we mean to, but because life and ambition can pull us in different directions. Their partnership was like a shooting star, brilliant, beautiful, and brief. They created magic together that millions of people still enjoy today. But they also showed us that even the best relationships can struggle under the pressure of fame and success. Jerry's willingness to finally speak up about Dean Martin after so many years of silence was brave and honest. It took courage to admit his mistakes and acknowledge the pain their breakup caused both of them. But it also showed that love and respect can survive even the most difficult circumstances. The reunion moment in 1976, brief as it was, proved that their connection was real and lasting. Even after 20 years of not speaking, they could still make each other laugh and feel comfortable together. That's the mark of a true friendship, even one that couldn't survive the pressures of Hollywood success. Jerry Lewis lived to be 91 years old, passing away in 2017. Dean Martin had died earlier in 1995. Both men had successful careers after their split, but many fans always wonder what they could have accomplished if they had stayed together. Jerry's final words about their partnership suggest he wondered the same thing. Their story reminds us that success isn't always worth the price we pay for it. Sometimes the most important things in life are the relationships we build along the way, not the fame or money we accumulate. Jerry and Dean had both fame and money, but what they lost was something even more valuable, their friendship. But perhaps their story isn't entirely tragic. After all, they gave the world countless hours of laughter and joy. They showed us what perfect comedy teamwork looks like. And they proved that two very different people can create something beautiful together. Their influence on comedy continues to this day, inspiring new generations of performers to chase their dreams and make people laugh. Jerry Lewis finally speaking up about Dean Martin was like completing a circle that had been broken for decades. It brought closure to one of Hollywood's most famous feuds and reminded us that even legends are human beings with feelings, regrets, and the capacity to grow and change. The next time you watch one of their old movies or clips on YouTube, remember that you're seeing two friends at the height of their powers, creating magic together even though they knew it wouldn't last forever. That makes their performances even more precious and their story even more meaningful. In the end, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin gave us everything they had. Their talent, their energy, their friendship, and eventually, their honesty about what went wrong. That's more than most entertainers ever give, and it's why their story continues to fascinate us decades after they both left the stage for the final time. Their legacy lives on in every comedian who takes a stage, in every friendship that survives difficult times, in every person who chooses laughter over tears. Jerry Lewis finally speaking up about Dean Martin wasn't just the end of a long silence. It was a gift to all of us who believe in the power of friendship, forgiveness, and the healing magic of laughter. What do you think about Jerry Lewis finally opening up about his relationship with Dean Martin? Did his honesty change how you feel about their famous split? Have you ever had a friendship that ended, but left you with both beautiful memories and lingering regrets? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart like it touched mine, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who appreciates classic comedy and timeless stories about friendship. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into Hollywood's most fascinating stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the best stories are the ones that make us laugh and cry at the same time.